Hello, this is News Today with me, Kamini Nyamani Emmanuel. Now, the Minister of Health, Sharia Aiti, on Tuesday gave the Nursing and Midwifery Council and the Medical and Dental Council 14 days to investigate the matter in which a baby stillborn at Konfanochi Teaching Hospital got missing. Meanwhile, Pro-Nursing Midwifery Council, PRO rather, Eric Mensah Aiti, says the council will continue with its investigations into the matter. He spoke with Steve Auntie on today's Big Story, Tuesday.
What have you been doing over the, before the expiration of the 14 days ultimatum that was issued by the Ministry of Health?
My council has produced preliminary reports which made certain findings which he read to the public. Now, what we did was that once we received the letter from the ministry, we set up a team that went to Konfanochi, also interviewed Madam Sueba, and interviewed the midwives involved, went to Konfanochi to find things out for themselves, and produced a preliminary report which we submitted to the Ministry of Health.
Right.
Now, what we need to do is to continue with the investigative process. And that is why the minister is saying that we have 2 more weeks to finalize our investigation.
Right. So within this 2 weeks extra that you've been giving, what exactly would you be doing?
Yeah, what we will do is to really go through what procedures that our law has provided. First of all, this report that we have submitted to the ministry will have to go to the board, our governing board. Then the governing board will study it, and after studying it, the board will also take the whole issue through its own procedure, which may involve handing it over to the professional committee to ascertain whether there has been any professional negligence on anybody's part, and then it follows from there. What we thought to do was to find out whether the midwives involved in the whole process. You know, when a pregnant woman goes to a hospital, she's taken care of by nurses and midwives. So our mandate is to find out whether the nurses and midwives involved did what they had to do for Madam Sueba. The CEO being asked to proceed on leave has nothing to do with that.
About 160 police personnel are being trained for deployment on various UN missions. Addressing the personnel, Inspector General of Police Mohammed Ahmed Ahassan urged them to be conscious of fundamental human rights of civilians in the line of duty. He commended them for high standards as appraised by their foreign instructors, calling for a transfer of the skills and knowledge to the other colleagues. The IGP was speaking at the Tesana Police Training School during a demonstration of their preparedness.
We appreciate the level of standards that you have displayed. But what this means is we should continue to work harder in order to remain on top. This should not make you become complacent, because we know out there there are a lot of risks. We also want to understand that we are not doing this to apply only when we go outside this country. We have to apply it also in our own country, so that we are able to protect citizens. We are also able to deal with criminals without infringing upon their human rights.
Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, David Agbe, says the completion of the National Identification System holds key to resolving issues over who is eligible to cast his or her votes. The Electoral Commission may just stand down the controversial no verification, no vote standard used during the 2012 elections come 2016, but leaders of the 2 main parties, the NPP and NDC, seem not to be in favor of the idea. The Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security spoke with me on News Desk. Now, what's going to happen is the fact that if the biometric voter machine is, or the biometric machine is not able to verify you via the thumbprint, you can just get two people to attest that indeed you're who you say you are. How helpful is that?
I think that we do have a challenge in this country that all the time we are not trying to resolve. This matter could easily be resolved when we have all Ghanaians by the age of 18 years. If everybody could have these national identification cards, all these things could be eliminated. But government upon government are refusing to ensure by releasing funds for these people to do the good job by issuing everybody national identification card. If you have your national identification card and you are Ghanaian, you have every legitimate, to go and cast your vote.
The political parties are divided over this. What is the danger, or perhaps not, associated with making two persons? I mean, we don't even know who these two persons are. We don't know the guidelines when it comes to choosing these two persons. But what is the danger associated with having human beings attest to the fact that the other human being who is voting and can be verified by the machine is indeed who he or she says he is or she is?
The politicians are continuously benefiting from the ignorance of majority of Ghanaians in this country. And that is why politicians are keeping us, in that quagmire of ignorance. When the civil society organizations and all of us become more aware of some of these things, I think that it will be able to, open everybody's eyes that the politicians are not ready to solve our problem.
The Progressive People's Party is marking its second anniversary. The party came third in the 2012 polls, despite the fact that it was not able to win any seats in Parliament. Let's talk about 2 years of the PPP, and I have with me in the studio Kwabena Otri, is a member of the communications team for the party. Thank you very much for joining us on News Today.
Thank you for having me.
2 years on. What's it with the PPP now?
2 years on. My dear, if 2 years ago, somebody told you that a political party will be formed and then they will have just about 7 months to campaign. They will compete with parties that are some older than myself. And with all the things that will happen, they will still emerge, they will come up third in the election. I'm sure you'll say it's not true, it won't happen. But we made it happen. Okay? We formed the party just 2 years ago, 7 months into an election, and we managed to get at least almost 70,000 Ghanaians to change their minds from the NPP, NDC, and others to vote for us. And we believe that that was commendable. And so 2 years from then, we think that it is worth looking at how far we have come, and then put in place a renewed spirit into going into the periods that will come for 2016.
So if someone was to ask the question what the state of the party is now?
Yes, there are several things that have happened to our party. I think we were the only political party, and we still are, I think so, to declare our audited accounts to the Electoral Commission. Okay, we have met all the requirements of the political party law today. Not all the parties can boast about this. And some people think these things are little things that doesn't matter, but they do. Because if you're a political party that is seeking political office, seeking to govern the country, first of all, you should be able to uphold the law. So if the law says that you should ensure that you have offices in at least 2/3 of all the district assemblies, of the assemblies in the country, you should abide by that rule. If the law says declare your audited accounts, you should. So if you're a political party and you seek to tell Ghanaians that you can abide by the constitution of the country, but yet still, the laws that you must even obey in order for you to win political power, you don't obey it. What is your sense as a political party? What business do you have to tell Ghanaians to vote for you? And so I wanted Ghanaians to read between the lines and see that these are people who are demonstrating everything they are saying they can do. Okay. Currently, we have made sure that all our offices are functional. Our regional offices, our constituency offices, and our national headquarters is functional. I'm sure you've seen that edifice there. We have made sure that we are organizing constituency elections to go into regional elections and to go into national congress to make sure by the end of 2014 we have all our officers in place. Then aside that, we wanted also to give our opinion, and we always are consistent. For example, we're the very first party to write to the Electoral Commission to suggest ways in which we can get our electoral system to be better. We're not interested in benefiting from the inefficiencies in the system. And so we wrote to the Electoral Commission. Currently, the party is getting to court to compel government to implement what the Constitution says it should implement, which is the free education, compulsory, universal,
we'll get
education.
into some of your issues with the nation, but let's look at 2 years since your establishment. How about followership? How has it grown?
We do not just believe in getting people to be screaming PPP. We believe in getting to the grassroots and organizing the people. And so we started a membership drive immediately after the election to make sure that we are organized ourselves at the polling station level. Okay. Okay. We are not so much interested in the media campaign. We are so much interested because elections are won at the polling stations. And so we are organizing, for example, now in every constituency we have electoral areas and polling stations in every constituency. Every constituency is supposed to have elected executives at every polling station. My constituency, for example, we have about 82 polling stations. 5 people in 82 polling stations. Add that up. And so if we are doing that effectively on the ground, that should tell you how much numbers we are going to generate. But we are not just doing that just for the show of it. Okay. Just for this, we are doing it because we want it to translate into votes. And so we want to take our time and do it well.
I see. One of the issues, or one of the things that PPP is known for, is championing the cause against corruption. Yes. And 2 years since you started that actively and collectively as a party. Yes. What would you say it has yielded?
Well, the consciousness is coming. Okay, it's not easy to change people's attitudes overnight. There needs to be consistency. You don't break it along the line. That is why we have been very consistent in everything we are doing. Our anti-corruption demonstration is still ongoing as we speak. We are still calling on the government to do the things that are right. Because it is not enough to single out one person and say this person is corrupt and punishing him. The system itself must change. And so until the system changes, we are going to have corrupt people every day. Until the system changes. For example, you have an Attorney General who is Minister for Justice. He sits in cabinet with his own friends, his own colleagues. So if one of them is corrupt, how does he prosecute him? He sits in cabinet to plan everything. And so if one of them is corrupt, he will not have the moral authority to prosecute him. So separate the Attorney General's office from the Ministry of Justice. Let him be an independent person. So he can prosecute everybody in the country.
I'm sure that's a conversation we continue to have. And like you said, it's created the awareness on some of the corruption-related issues that the PPP has announced. But 2 years of your existence, have you got any activities lined up?
Of course, we have several of them lined up. We are going to continue with our anti-corruption demonstrations. Okay. And the pressure that we're giving onto government.
How soon are we going to see the first one?
Oh, it's been happening. We've done Greater Accra, we've done Central Region, it's happening. We have done Ashanti Region, it's ongoing, it's nationwide. Okay. Then in May, our former flag bearer, Dr. Papa Kwesindum, is going to hold a press conference on the state of the nation and our alternatives as to what we think must be done to save our economy. And if I say he is going to give that lecture, lead that press conference, then you know what is going to come out. because this is the man who has been an MP before. If he is saying that separate, don't appoint members of parliament as ministers, he knows what he's talking about, because see, he has been an MP before without being a minister. He has been an MP and a minister before, so he knows what it is, because that's one of our issues. Being an MP is a full-time job.
Right.
An MP is a full-time job. Being a minister is also a full-time job. So how do you have one person doing 2 full-time jobs at the same time? So cut that system. And so he's going to give us, hold a press conference in May to tell us the state of the party. We are also going to do some social work. Now people are thirsty all over the country. There's no water, there's no electricity and all that. So we want to do some social work by giving some communities some boreholes and some centers.
Let's
so
quickly have you highlight your matter in court in relation to
free SHS.
Yes.
Some parties are saying they will give free SHS. So what they are saying is that if you pass JHS, yes, if you pass and you happen to go into SHS, then they will give you free. So if you pass. Some also say they are going to start with day schools. So if you happen to go to boarding school, you are not part of it. If you don't even pass at all, then you are not part of it. But our position is clear and consistent. And it is not different from what the Constitution says. Free, compulsory, universal basic education. And the Constitution didn't give us the luxury of deciding when to start it and when not to start. The Constitution didn't say, if you have money, start. The Constitution put it there and said, 12 years from now, start it. 12 years from that day was somewhere 2005. We are in 2014. That's about 21 years on. And we have still not done it. And so we are in court to ask the court to compel the country that the Constitution that you swore, you held up in your hands and told Ghanaians that you will abide by, it says do it. It didn't say do it when you are free or do it when you are happy. It says do it at this time.
But the government right now says that it will do that progressively. Does it not clear the matter?
No. What does the government say? What does the Constitution say? The Constitution did not say that. Progressively provide free boarding school, free boarding education, or free day education.
That's if the letter.
Give, provide free, compulsory, universal, basic education. Basic.
Okay.
And so by that, we are not supposed to be seeing children selling pure water on the streets. Because compulsory and it is basic. And so it must start from kindergarten. That is our basic. That is where children learn how to write ABC. That is basic. But the Constitution did not give you the luxury of deciding where to start from.
Okay.
It says free. The catchword is compulsory.
I see. If the PPP was in office, how would you tackle getting those children off the streets?
Yes, we said it. It is clear in our manifesto
that
one of the measures is to ensure that we will form a wing of the Ghana Police Service which will deal specifically with education, because it is a top priority. It is the future of our country. If the future of our country is selling pure water, so any child that is seen on the streets, that section of the Ghana Police Service would have to pick that child, find the parents, because we have put in place a free basic education for you. So you have no excuse to drive your children to go on the streets. And so whoever drives his children to the streets must be picked up by the police.
I'm very sure there's a lot more to talk about. Because we want to draw the line where children are able to help their parents, so that we have some children who actually go to school as well, but they're able to help out their parents, and child labor that is taking them away from school. But I'm not sure we have that luxury of time. So I'll let you go on. 2 years on, 2 years from now, what will we see from the PPP?
2 years from now, we would see a PPP that will be appreciated by Ghanaians. A PPP that will show to Ghanaians that we are the alternative to the hardships we are going through. 2 years from now, to be a more an organized...
By the way, it will be election year.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, that we will prove to Ghanaians that we are the alternative to the suffrage that we are going through, that we are the people who have got the ideas, we are the people who can provide that alternative, not to do... We do what we do over and over again every year. How do we expect to get different results? You go vote for NPP over the years, you don't get your problem solved. You vote for NDC over the years, you don't get your problem solved. How do you continue voting for them and expect to get your problem solved?
Very well, Kwabna. Thank you very much once again for passing through news today. Kwabna Otre is a member of the communications team for Progressive People's Party. We spoke to him as they mark their 2nd anniversary. You're watching News Today. When I return, I'll tell you about the MIM Senior High School congestion. Thank you very much for staying on News Today. Let's get into some business stories. And the mandate of the central bank governor must be regulated, and that's according to a visiting professor of economic governance at the Central University College, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia. He says this can be done with a periodic appearance before Parliament. He also explained the central bank's directives to save the depreciating cedi are retrogressive, which continue to destroy the forex markets. Dr. Bawumia was speaking at a public lecture on restoring the value of the cedi. The Bank of Ghana, in its bid to arrest the free fall of the cedi, instituted a number of measures, including checks on foreign current and foreign exchange accounts. This translated into forced conversion into cedis repatriated export earnings, as well as forced conversion into cedis of withdrawals on such accounts. According to Dr. Bawumia, this move will only urge the public to keep their foreign exchange earnings.
The Bank of Ghana should immediately reverse the new directives relating to the forced conversion into cedis of repatriated export earnings and the forced conversion into cedis of withdrawals from foreign exchange accounts. There's no problem with the repatriation of export proceeds, but there must not be a forced conversion of those proceeds into cedis. These directives are based on what, in my humble opinion, is a rather wrong view that the dollarization is responsible for the depreciation. Mr. Chair, I'm sure you are happy to hear those two words. In conclusion, I would like to repeat, without exaggeration, that the Ghanaian economy is in a crisis. It is time for serious action. If the government does not take the right decisions and soon, then Ghana would likely have to approach the IMF for a bailout before the end of the year. At the end of the day, the obvious lesson is that we cannot run away from fiscal and monetary discipline, no matter how hard we try. I thank you for your attention. God bless you, and God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Dr. Bawumia opined that to enhance the confidence of the markets in monetary policy while preserving the independence of the Bank of Ghana, government must amend the Bank of Ghana Act to introduce an accountability mechanism or process for breaches of the Act. Bawumia urged, for transparency's sake, the governor reports regularly to Parliament on the fulfillment of his or her responsibilities under the Bank of Ghana Act.
Currently, the Bank of Ghana Act, when breaches are made, there is nothing happens. As I said, you breach Section 30, and it has just been breached, but nothing happens. There's no follow-through to make sure it's not done again. In addition, to increase transparency, the Bank of Ghana Act should be amended to provide for regular reporting, say twice a year, by the governor to Parliament on the fulfillment of its responsibilities under the Act, including especially on the issue of central bank financing of government. The governor could appear before the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Finance, for example, in the same way as the chairman of the Federal Reserve in the United States regularly appears before Congress. So we could essentially give a lot of confidence to the market if we change the legal framework for fiscal discipline as well as the legal framework for monetary discipline.
The central bank is battling to restore the value of the cedi. It's assured its measures will produce results in mid-March 2014, but it's end of month and very little has changed. Recently, the bank reviewed its measures it had put in place, and while we may give it more time to achieve those results, Dr. Baromia advises direct and serious action is needed now and urgently too. Chartered economist John Gachi says government must work on improving its fiscal discipline in an attempt to rein in the budget deficits. In the solutions he's prescribing, he's mentioned revenue enhancing and reducing losses. Is that not a valid point?
Well, it's a valid point to reduce revenue leakages in the system. But if you link that to efficiency in labor productivity in the country, that is not actually correct, because that is not the reality. Do we talk about public sector where in some offices where 2 people are supposed to work and 10 people are working as a productive labor force? That is not the reality on the ground. But I do agree perfectly with him that we need to focus on blocking the leakages in the revenue system. In fact, the amount of money that is going into private hands and not being collected is so huge that if we are able to even increase revenue mobilization by about 25 to 30%, some of the problems that we are facing will not be there. So I do agree with him when he said that those things ought to be done. But again, we also, as citizens of the country, we also need to appreciate the effort that we have been making as a nation. I think from 2003, when President Kufuor was in power, he has put a lot of measures in place in order to bring about fiscal discipline within the public system. The situation is so endemic that whatever a program that you roll out, it takes time to be able to overcome some of the situation. And as we speak currently, there are many measures which are going in the public system to ensure that there is discipline in the system. But there is one thing which is characteristic of all the government that we have seen so far, which as Ghanaians we need to work assiduously to overcome, is that the issue of budget financing of programs and projects in the country. That is one of the indiscipline that we have recorded for all the successive governments. So it is right that fiscal discipline becomes very important as part of the economic governance of the country.
The executive chair of the African Independent Coastal Services, the only company running Ghanaian flagship along the West African coastline, Stanley Aholi, is asking government to enforce the legislation which restricts coastal trading to Ghanaian-owned ships. He says the numerous foreign ships trading in the Ghanaian waters, apart from doing so illegally, are hindering the growth of the local shipping industry, adding that Ghana is losing huge revenues to these multinational shipping lines without an established domestic shipping industry. He spoke to Abigail Adumakwenchi.
The domestic shipping industry is a very critical, crucial, essential tool needed for economic development. But unfortunately for Ghana, this industry has not really yielded much results. But the good news is that there are some companies that are coming up strongly, local companies, and one such company is the African Independent Coastal Services. It is the only company in Ghana and across West Africa that is giving feeder services, diverting cargoes from the road through the sea to other ports across the West African coastline. Now, I would want to find out, in such an industry that is not well established, and as a company that is fighting against all kinds of competition, the styling, how are they making it, and how is government support these companies to really come up and contribute immensely to the economy?
The fact of the matter is that we are working within a context. There isn't an existence of a domestic shipping industry. Ghana doesn't have a domestic shipping industry, even though there are certain laws on the books aimed at
facilitating the growth of the development and growth of the domestic shipping industry. We haven't seen that for decades, since the Black Star Line ships and Nkrumah's Black Star Line ships. We haven't seen that. So we found ourselves chartering a new path and trying to do business as an avant-garde entity. It's in itself a difficulty.
We don't really have an established domestic shipping industry, and not having that and you setting the pace, what are the benefits in there for us, and what are we losing as an economy without this particular industry, please?
Well, Ghana is losing a lot of money. We're an import-dependent country. All we consume comes in from outside, from Europe, from Asia, name it. 90% of that, the transportation of that import into our country is done by sea.
The board of the Export Trade, Agricultural and Industrial Development Fund has approved an amount of 55,806,267 Ghana cedis to 10 businesses in the country, according to a statement issued in Accra on Tuesday. This approval is in line with the fund's objective of providing financial resources for the development and promotion of export trade, agriculture, related to agri-processing and industrial development. 9 of the beneficiaries are in the agri sector, while 1 is in the pharmaceutical company.
Good afternoon, I am Baba Tando. Time now to talk sports. Sketchy Cowbell. Now, the Boston Cricket Club, based in the United Kingdom, has donated a set of cricket equipment to Amateur Tep Cricket Academy based in Achimota. The donation over the weekend followed a request by President of Cricket Academy, Frank Yao, months ago to the UK club. Dr. Andrew Boy of the Boston Cricket Club, who facilitated the donation, spoke to Joy Sports about his motivation.
Some people have a long, passionate association with cricket. I'm one of them, and I heard of your need last year for equipment, basics actually, that makes the game enjoyable to play. And I have a son who is also passionate about this game, and this game has actually created a great deal of opportunities for him. He's fortunate to be in a country where the game is admired and fully sponsored and supported. As a matter of fact, he is actually due to go on a tour to Barbados this summer playing cricket. And I hope and wish the same opportunity for all of you here. I hope I'll live to see the day when such an opportunity will avail itself to you. But before you get to that stage, you've got to master the game. You've got to master the discipline that the game also affords you.
Minister of Youth and Sports Elvis Efiye Anka has launched their community coach education and development framework with a call on all to explore opportunities in promoting sports within the context and vision for sports development in the area of community coaching. Now, the document will be basic guide for the formulation of a curriculum and other relevant instruments, which will be coordinated by the National Sports College at Winneba.
This document will be the basic guide and source of the formulation of a curriculum and other relevant instruments for the training and education of community coaches at the National Sports College, Winneba. It will also serve as standards, expectations, and code of conduct, especially for people working with young people in sports in our communities. Even as I speak, I can hint that a curriculum development project is already underway, sponsored by the Sports College and UK Sport. And I believe at the appropriate time, the British Council will also chip in some more support. We're always asking for more, Oliver Twist. Madam Chair, the reason for prioritizing the community coach is that most of the time, the focus of coaching and coach development has been on
elite and competitive coaching. The question one may ask is, what about the young people and the not so able-bodied who may not aim at competition but also have a right to sport and play in safe and quality conditions for health, fitness, and for fun?
All right, so some very interesting news now, and Super Eagles coach Stephen Keshi gave the green light yesterday that married players could go to the World Cup with their wives, but ruled out single players going with their girlfriends. Speaking at a Tom roundtable on Tuesday, Keshi said that WACs and girlfriends are good for the players, but would not tolerate girlfriends in Brazil. In any civilized countries, WACs are always allowed to accompany their husbands to the World Cup. In 1994, Nigeria's team was allowed by Westerhoff to go with their wives. Now, married men in the Eagles can go with their wives, but there will be no room for girlfriends. He said as many girlfriends or single girls in the audience protested mildly.
Who's the best bartender in Accra? And a cocktail competition has been organized to recognize some very talented bartenders in Ghana, as well as award Accra's Master Bartender 2014.
The bartending profession was generally a second occupation or transitional work for students, mostly in the Western countries, to gain knowledge on customer service. This, however, seems to be changing around the world, and bartending is becoming a profession by choice rather than necessity. And now, competitions are even springing up to crown good bartenders with the title Best Bartender. On Monday, top bartenders gathered at Movenpick Hotel to select the best bartender from among some 5 finalists who stood out from over 100 bartenders who entered the competition from across Accra. The 5 finalists competed in an exciting showdown using the finest line of spirits to exhibit their various talents. At the end of the competition, Felix Ajay from the View Bar was the last man standing.
Let's give Felix a round of applause.
Taking home the grand prize of $1,000 an NBA branded iPad mini loaded with cocktail apps, as well as a Master Bartender Academy cocktail set. He shared his excitement with us.
It's a mixed feeling. I'm not feeling too well, and I had to win, and it's kind of joy, and I can't really explain what I'm feeling now.
Some of the contestants also share the experience of the competition with us.
I was first a normal bartender, but at a point in time, I had this feeling to go higher and higher and higher. And I was encouraged by a friend to just keep going, not to give up. And that's what took me there.
In my first...
From bartending, Hollywood star Gwyneth Paltrow and Coldplay singer Chris Martin are to separate after more than 10 years of marriage. Paltrow, 41, and Martin, 37, announced their split on her blog in a poster titled Conscious Uncoupling. The pair, who married in December 2003, have 2 children, Apple, who is 9, and Moses, who is 7. Well, let's check out our closing headlines. And Nursing and Midwifery Council says its governing body will continue its investigations into the missing baby saga at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. Professor of Economic Governance at the Central University College and 2012 Vice Presidential Candidate of the NPP, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, says government must restore fiscal discipline by ensuring a reduction in huge budget deficits. Meanwhile, thank you very much for staying through the hour on News Today. Find more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Goodbye.